Hi, it's Chris at the Beer Temple, and I have got our April Beer Club selections that we're going to taste through. Starting from my right, your left, we have the Working Man Mile from Revolution Brewing. We have Hirter Morchl, the Dunkel from Hirter Brewing. A classic, which I'm happy to have back in, the Theakston Old Peculiar, kind of a stock ale. The second installment of the Weihenstepaher Braupakt. And finally, another local. I guess we got it bookended with the local beers. We've got the Maplewood Berliner Weiss. And let's get to it. Let's see what they're all about. All right, let's start off with the second installment in the Weihenstepaher Braupakt. That is their cross-brewery collaboration series. Their first Braupakt was with Sierra Nevada, the Chico, California, U.S. brewery. They did a hoppy Hefeweizen. This one, they kept it European. We're quite European this month, in fact. This is Braupakt between Weihenstepaher and the St. Bernardus. So as you can see on the label, they've got the two monks, or the two, well, I guess religious figures, icons that they have on their labels. And this is interesting. It is, well, I think what they're saying is they use the famous Weihenstepaher yeast. They use some Belgian hops. Obviously, the water source is German. And yeah, I think they're going for some kind of a, well, Belgian Hef hybrid of some kind. So in the glassware, I don't know. I just wanted to do it in the chalice. I thought it might look nice. It's off-brand, but I don't think anyone will mind. Look at that beer. Looks pretty inviting. Nice golden color. Absolutely brilliant. Give it a smell. Yeah, so it has that German Hef yeast character to it. And by that I mean it's got that kind of estery fruitiness to it. A little bit of banana, but like baked banana, banana bread, you know, the malt and the yeast kind of just going together perfectly. A lot of fresh baked banana bread. Very inviting. And so it starts to taste like it's going to be a Hefeweizen, but it doesn't have that same creamy, soft mouthfeel. It has a little bit more, I don't know, it's a little drier, I think. And it seems kind of somewhat, I would say mostly German, but it leans a little bit into Belgian. If you gave me this blind and I could just see it, I would probably guess it was a Belgian beer. Really good springtime beer. I can see this going with a lot of lighter foods, great with salad, great with fish, maybe even some roast chicken, something like that. Also very nice on its own. Now that I've been drinking it for a little bit, I'm getting a little bit of just the slightest kind of bitterness on the end. That would be the Belgian hops. Yeah, very interesting. This comes in 6-packs. Fun beer, and one that, you know, it's going to be one and done. So it's not like there's going to be another chance to have this again. So we thought it was a fun addition for this month's beer picks. All right, next we have the Hirter Morchl. This is the, as I would say, the Munich Dunkel, the classic dark lager. Now, I've heard that there's this thing called the Austrian Dunkel. I don't know if I really buy into that as its own style. Sure, fine. If you disagree, put it in the comments. Let me know why an Austrian Dunkel is a distinct style from the Munich Dunkel. Hirter is from Austria. This is a 5% beer, brewed to what would be the Reinheitsgebot, even though they don't have the Reinheitsgebot in Austria. But that just means that it is the classic beer ingredients: barley, yeast, water, and hops, and that's it. Dunkels, I think, are surprisingly Well, I think with a slight resurgence in Belgian, in British styles of beer, I'm surprised the Dunkel, and especially with lagers going nuts, and what am I thinking? British beers. German lagers being so popular, Czech lagers being so popular, Czech dark lagers. The Dunkel, I don't know if it's in the name, maybe we should start calling them Munich dark lagers, Czech dark lagers, Munich dark lagers. They are distinct. And what I love about this type of beer is you can see it's quite dark, but they're so drinkable. They are not heavy. They don't even tend to be really roasty. You can get a little roast in a Czech dark lager, as I just dip my nose right into the foam. Happens all the time. This one, to me, has more bread crust. They call it this melanoidin, brown bread, baking bread, but specifically the crust of the bread. Yes. This beer's in really good shape. It's nice and fresh. Goes down so easy. You can drink this beer really all year round, but I think, to me, the transition seasons are the best. Dead of winter, fine, very good. Middle of summer, okay if you want it. Spring and fall, this style for me shines. That bready quality. It's got a little bit more to it than like a light lager would, but still very drinkable. 5%, and it's all about that bready, malty character. Wonderful beer. Absolutely love it. All right, it is the British portion of our beer club picks for this month. We've got the Working Man Mild, an annual release from Revolution, and classic English Dark Mild, a style that, has seen a blip in resurgence. We had a big mild event here at the shop and at the bar, and it went really well. And it's just a favorite, I think, of beer geeks. One, because it doesn't get a ton of love, and two, because it's just a great style. We got to go full dimp on this one. We'll let it calm down. Now, this style would traditionally be served from cask. And here at the Beer Temple, we have it on cask. I believe if you go to Revolution, you can have it on cask. Otherwise, you're probably going to have to go to a brew pub or England to get these beers on cask. There's just not a lot of cask service in the States anymore, sadly. So we've got the traditional dimple. Some of you might say, that's a German dimple or a Czech dimple. That's not a English dimple. And to you, I say, you know what? Don't you have somewhere else to be? Chill out, okay? It's a dimple. The dimple mug is a classic glassware style in certain areas of England, not necessarily, more I think in the Midlands and North. In the South you get the Nonneck, but it's just a really cool glass to drink from. You can see this mild, it has it's a brown ale in color. How strong is this? 3.8. So these are sessionable beers. They tend to be lower carbonated than like a German lager or even an American IPA or something like that would be. Lower carbonation. You often can drink them a little bit warmer, maybe just below cellar temperature. 45 degrees I think would be great for this. And in the right setting, these beers go down like few others. Yes, there is almost like a tea-like quality to this beer. The malt and the grain really come through, but it doesn't have that melanoidin that the Hirter Morchl did. It'd be fun for you guys to try them side by side and see how toast and malt can go can go in different directions. And I'm not even talking about that kind of acrid roasty quality to it. I'm talking about just these are English malts versus the German malts and how they are used in the brewing process, how they are malted, how they are toasted. Lovely beer. This is a beer that comes in 16-ounce cans for a reason. This beer goes down very easy, and it's about half the ABV of an IPA is, of a classic IPA. So, you can have 2 for 1 essentially, and it's meant to be not sipped, but kind of quaffed, if you will. Goes great with any kind of pub food. The classic pub food would go great with this beer. If you want something a little bit spicy, I think the mild sweetness to this, just a little bit, would go really well. I could see it going well with buffalo chicken wings or something like that. Obviously, burgers, fish and chips, stuff like that would be perfect for this beer. This is the Working Man Mild from Revolution. We're staying with the British ales. Now we have a actual British ale, not a British style ale like the Working Man Mild. This is Theakston Old Peculiar. This is a proper Yorkshire brewery from up in the north. And this beer has been out of circulation here, in the States for quite a while, at least in the Midwest/Chicago area. We were really excited to have this beer come back in, and we wanted to share it with you because who knows when it's going to come back. This is I don't know. Whenever you see old on a British style, it's probably going to be an old ale, a stock ale. You hear when I open that up, you hear how there was no fizz, there was no low carbonation, hallmark of English style beers. Yorkshire, known for their Yorkshire Square fermentation style. You can Google that if you want. I can maybe put a little link in there to what that is. Let's see what we got here. Lower carbonation on this. It's definitely carbonated, so it's not flat. People say that the British like to drink their beer warm and flat. That's not true. They drink it at cellar temperature, which is warmer than pulling it straight out of an ice box, and at a lower carbonation level. Both these things make them more sessionable. That's kind of where the term comes from this British drinking culture. Look at the fine carbonation on that too. Tiny little bubbles there. Beautiful beer. What does this come in at? Awesome label art as well. Just really cool. This is an old historic brewery founded in 1827. There you go. 5th generation family-run brewery. You still get these in Britain. They really should be cherished because beers like that are like kind of drinking back in history. They still use wooden cooperage. I think they've got the only full-time cooper, or one of them anyway, in the UK. They use the square fermentation where you see nowadays everything is in those kind of cylindro-conical vessels that you see. They're kind of ubiquitous. Does it say how strong it is? 5.6, which that's a strong beer in a lot of circles in Britain. So, but enough about that. Let's get into it. Kind of looks like the mild, right? But it's about 2% stronger. And it's got that melanoidin is kind of coming back from that Hirter, but fruitier too. Dried fruits, dried cherry. A little bit of that tea-like quality to it. So it's funny, it's kind of borrowing from all of the 3 previous beers. It smells to me very British. If I smelled this beer blind, I would say that is a British beer. Then again, once you're actually smelling it and tasting it blind, you never know. Wonderful smell. Creamy. That low carbonation and that fine, tight carbonation gives it a creamy mouthfeel. This is a dry beer, but those fruity flavors and those malty characteristics kind of trick you a little bit into thinking it's fuller and sweeter than it actually is, which is great. You get these really nice full flavors, but my mouth right now is quite dry. That's a way to know if a beer is truly sweet or just kind of has fruity flavors that are tricking you. Swallow the beer, wait 5 seconds, and kind of taste what's in your mouth. Is it sweet or is your mouth dry? My mouth is completely dry now. That is what you want from a drinkable, sessionable beer. Keep it dry. It's easier to drink things that are drier than sweeter. Lovely beer. So happy to have it back. Who knows when we'll see it again. I hope you guys enjoy it. And just to see, what these beers were all about. It's really fun to do. And for the second month in a row, we're going to round it out with a Berliner Weiss. We're back to the German style, kind of where we started. This is from Maplewood in Chicago, and this is their Cosmic Rocks Berliner Weiss, 3.8, so another low ABV beer. And give it a nice aggressive pour. You notice a lot of times I pour it right down the center. You don't have to be afraid of the foam coming up. If you want a nice stable head, you allow it to kind of foam up, settle down, and then you fill it back up, and then you get a nice kind of stable head that you can get kind of actually going up above the lip of the glass. If you want to then kind of be a little more dainty on the second pour, you certainly can. I think last month we, waited a little while and showed you how to do that. If you want to see it, just look at last month's video, but I think I'm just going to dive right into it. Even this, nothing wrong with this. Nothing wrong with a beer that comes like this, especially styles that are meant to be higher carbonation. Berliner Weiss are one of the most highly carbonated styles, very different from the British styles. So this is totally normal. You can see the beer is already starting to come down. I might be able to get it to poke up just a little bit. There you go. Get a little bit of that jiggle. And if you kept doing it, you could get it really high, like that high above the glass. Berliner Weiss is a German wheat style beer that is soured with lactobacillus. It is meant to be a very sessionable, quenching beer. They have like a lemony quality to them. That lactic acid, to me, comes across as quite lemony. Also, wheat beers and wheat in general, when used in brewing, I think gets a lemony quality to it. If you've ever seen, the Hefeweizen, the German Hef, what do you have on it? Not on a blue moon. That they use orange for that, but it's derived from the tradition of putting a lemon wedge on the Hefeweizen. One, to complement that kind of little bit of citrus lemony note from the wheat, and two, to give it a little zip. Well, this beer already has that in it, already has the zip. It doesn't have that fruity, yeasty quality of the Hefeweizen, but it is that kind of snappy, lemony note. So if you're someone who likes a Hef with a little bit of lemon in it, definitely try a Berliner Weiss. This isn't a sour beer, at least not this version. Sometimes I think people make them too sour. This is a beer that has just a little bit of a zing to it. It's a little snappy. Certainly a tart beer. And if you didn't prepare someone like, hey, there's some acidity in this beer, they might be like, what's wrong with this beer? But there's nothing wrong with it. It's a really nice melding of the yeast character, the malt character, or not malt technically, but the grain, and now this lactobacillus bacteria as well, which adds that lemony zip to it. Well, there you have it. Those are the picks for April from the Beer Temple and our beer club. If you're interested in signing up, we'll throw a link on there how to join. If you have any questions about it, leave them below. And thanks so much. We'll see you next month.